Welcome back to the Happy Hippie Podcast. My name is Amanda McCormack. I am the host. This is a show where we explore all the areas in your life that can add to bringing you greater happiness. So it's all about holistic health, holistic mindset. Everything is interconnected. So sometimes just looking at maybe like fitness or just looking at mindset, I don't feel is enough. I feel everything is connected in a way and it can add to your life in so many ways. So I am a certified personal trainer, a certified nutrition coach, a women's coaching specialist, and also a registered yoga teacher. And that's another reason all those certifications and all the things I'm interested in, I just feel like they all line up in different ways. So whether you're looking to make a change in your life, you're trying to work on your self-development, your fitness, your mindset, your nutritional intake, whether that be what you're consuming as in media or food, this is the show for you. So tune in, and I'm very excited about today's episode. It's going to be more of like a little bit of a motivational kind of like talk, and it's going to be shorter than our usual episodes. It's a few little topics that came to me, and I decided just to get up and record this. I have a cold, so I don't know if you can hear it in my voice. I also realized some of these episodes, man, I was recording way too close to the mic, so I apologize for your audio experience. I'm going to try and work on that. So if you hear me, I'm a little further away, but I do have a bit of like a rasp in my voice, and I definitely may have to pause my recording so I could like hack like an old man for a minute and then continue. But on more of the knowledgeable note, this episode, it's a few different topics. I couldn't come up with more of like a linear title. Like sometimes I'm able to like come up with a title and then kind of give you like bullet points in an episode, and it just like, you know, looks nice. This episode is like 3 different things. I don't know if they weave together, but they're just like points that have made a big difference in my mindset. It's a little bit about like diving into like your inner self, appreciating the present moment. And then also some questions, like some journaling questions that you can use so you can ask yourself and kind of find out more about what I'll talk about. And then my favorite thing that we're going to talk about is my favorite mindset shift for viewing self-development, because I feel like we view self-development from a very capitalistic point of view, from a point of view that's been pushed on us because it sells, you know? So hopefully this episode will give you some gems. I think I'm going to have to pause this because I literally have to cough. I'm like, you ever seen the picture of the seal? Like when a seal like holds in their cough, like I'm going to actually like put it in the description so you can see what I mean. But it's like the seal and his eyes are all watery and he's like, and it's like when you cough too many times in school, but like you have to cough again, but you can't because you just cough for like 20 minutes. That's how I look. But instead of resting my vocal cords, I was like, no, we're going to talk into a mic because that's what everybody wants to hear. So let's get into the show. I'm very excited for this episode. I feel like I say that for everyone, but it is very true. And let me know if you like this style where it's more of just 3 or 4 points pulled from my journal, pulled from just stuff that's been going around in my head. And yeah, kind of like a flow state. So I've just been feeling especially really good recently. Like, it's a combination, I think, of just like eating good foods, like really taking care of myself in the sense of like I've achieved a really nice balance between, I have to cough again, oh my gosh, a really nice balance of like my sleep schedule is good. Like I'm giving myself days to rest and time to rest and having these boundaries where I'm literally like, nope, me time. But then I've actually taken on another job because I keep doing this, but I took on like another side job, and I've been finding a really nice balance between working, between having discipline. I'm finding myself doing things I used to put off. Like I talked about it in my last episode. I actually got this new planner, and I really, not to accredit everything to like this external planner, but I think it's been really nice to see what I have to do in my days, like separated out, and then looking at my actual schedule and seeing in a day and it's color coded so I can see like in big chunks, wow, like when I'm planning, initially sometimes I'll even change my plan because I'll look at it and be like, whoa, I put so much time into this, but I'm really not putting a lot of time into this, whether that be my own relaxation or whether that be, oh, maybe I should put a little bit more time into this project because it's something I talk about in my head a lot and I really want to do it. And I'm looking at my day to day and I'm only putting in like 5 minutes and I'm not really doing a lot of it. So I think switching to this new scheduling where I could see my whole day in advance, this isn't like a new concept. I know a lot of people who are listening probably have a planner with it where they see this, but I'm also being realistic with my time blocking, because I think one of my older problems used to be I would try to put a million tasks in my day and just like never get them done. But I'm being very realistic. I do like a quick tick section, which is like things I can tick off the checkbox list very quickly. order this, call this person, respond back to this message, email this person. Cause I put those off. I literally always put off talking to other people. Cause like, I don't know, I just like hate the idea of having to call somebody. And when I put it in the quick tick category, I just look at it and I'm like, girl, do it first. And then it kind of gets me on this momentum to get myself going. And I just find myself checking a lot more off on my to-do list daily because of the way I'm being able to see my whole day ahead. And then like I was saying, I also really like the concept of I can look at my day and be like, wow, on Tuesday, I put a lot of time into that job. I put a lot of time into my job. I did exercise. I didn't give myself like a rest. Like on Wednesday, I want to make sure I give myself like some sort of like self-care relaxation activity. Like, and I just feel that balance has been really good. Combined with my sleep has been really good. I don't have a consistent sleep schedule, but I always make sure I'm getting my sleep in terms of like, I get like 8 to 9 hours because I do feel better sometimes when I do get 9 hours of sleep. But the jobs I do at the moment, like for example, every single Sunday, my shift is at 4 a.m. and I have to get up at like 3, which is horrible because that means every Saturday, I don't do anything on the weekends. Like I don't go out, but like on Saturday nights, I have to go to bed at like 7. So I don't have a real consistent scheduling. Some days I work early, some days I work in the midday, other days I'm doing my own work, you know, so it's like a little weird, but I'm making sure I'm getting that like 8 to 9 hours of sleep. And yes, I've said that. I've always talked about how I love sleep, but I did feel like for a little bit I fell off. Like I wasn't not getting my sleep, but I was getting like, I don't think I operate well with 7 hours of sleep. Like I would do it and I'm just like, I'm not doing that. Or I was sleeping in too much. But there's also, my body is like messed up because I go back and forth between New York and Hawaii. And I feel like I always get messed up with the time difference. And I don't really adjust well. Like for months, like I actually am like a little messed up from it all. But putting my foot down and being like, girl, get your sleep, and actually doing like making sure I'm preparing for bed in a way where like I'm not scrolling on my phone before bed. When I wake up, I don't go immediately on my phone. Like I kind of ease into the day and I give myself the time in the morning to do that now. I found it so much easier to get up, and I've always been someone who's not like a morning person, so I don't get up easily. It's never gotten easier. I thought it would get easier. It doesn't. Like I still want to snooze the alarm. I do snooze the alarm sometimes, but I'm just saying, sleep has just made me feel so much better. Looking at my scheduling and the way I'm planning it and making sure I'm doing work, but also that nice balance. I've just felt so good. Like I really have. I felt like really excited about life recently, and I'm doing stuff that like you maybe even think is mundane. And I'm just like very excited that I'm able to like look at it that way. I also have been just like, I love supplements, not supplements, but just like vitamins and minerals and food and like the good properties of food. Like I love the fact that like I can take teas and I can eat veggies and fruits, and like different types of meals are going to provide me with different like I get like nerdy about like what's in my food. Like I love it. So I've just been like having a good time with like making my meals, and haven't really ordered out that much. Like I've been nourishing myself, and I feel so good. And there has to be something with that because of the way I've been, you know, sleeping well and like scheduling myself well with like my balance between stress and work, and then making sure I'm getting like good quality like vitamins and minerals in and macronutrients with my food and my water and everything. Like my mind has just been very happy. Like it's been a good place. Like I'm like loving it, you know? And I even caught myself like walking down the street the other day, and it was like rainy out, and I was just like so excited to like be outside, like walking to my car. And I was like, this is like so cool that like I have this whole day ahead of me. And I had like work scheduled in and all this stuff, but I was like, I have this whole day ahead of me, and like I could do anything I want. Like truly, like I could make a crazy left and walk down the street and do something, or go down the road. Like I have all this free will, and it's like really cool to like appreciate that. Not to get really like hippie, but guess what the name of the show is. But yeah, I've just been like in such a good place, I feel mentally. And I want to talk about some of the insights that have come up with like my journaling and stuff like that. I've been very appreciative of the present moment. I know that's a theme that we've talked about before, and you hear all the time, is like being appreciative of like the here and now. I was listening to a podcast, I think it was like Ed Milet, and he was talking about like Wayne Dyer, and it had a lot to do with the present moment. And it's just been connecting to some ideas I've been having recently with, I don't know, like the here and now. Sometimes it can actually make me appreciate and almost take in ideas and lessons and things from the past by looking at the now. Like there's beauty in it, no matter what you're feeling, whether it's you're enjoying where you are right now, or maybe there's some things like you just know in your like life plan, like some of the things right now that are happening are you know, like you don't want it, frankly, like you just don't, that's not what you want. But it's cool to see that like the present moment is allowing you to like see that in a way. Like you can reframe it, not to be like positive and cheerful all the time, but I just mean looking at it like, this is really cool that I'm going through this type of thing because it's showing me like I don't want this, or I do want this, or I want more of something that I don't have, and not feeling that lack of not having it, but feeling the appreciation of being like, wow, this moment is actually showing me that I'm craving this in my life, and maybe I can look towards ways to bring that into my life more. So there's a lot of beauty in the present moment. I wrote down some notes because, again, this wasn't too much of like a clarified episode. I just wanted to like talk about this topic a lot. One thing that I was listening to that Emilette podcast, and I've heard multiple people say this to me, and sometimes it's so true. It's how I do some of these episodes, where sometimes we get this ping, like a boom, like a feeling of like motivation, or you're just like, wow, I should really look that up. Or I don't know, maybe it's just like the ADHD brain, but I feel like it's a common shared experience where you get an idea for something, and sometimes I have to write things down. I used to write down all my dreams, but I always write down whenever things come up, because sometimes I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to forget them. But he was saying in this podcast episode, and I thought it was really true, that it's so easy to write them down in your notes, but then in the future, when you go back to wanting to do the thing and you look at your notes, like you may not be in the mood to do whatever it was you wrote down. And sometimes when you're in a flow, like if you're like, it's one of those days where like maybe you worked out and you're just like, your blood's pumping, like you're feeling good, or you just finished a big project and you think of something, sometimes maybe starting that thing or doing something to get the ball rolling with your like idea might be better, because you're already in that wave of motivation and it's going to be so much easier for you to do something. That's also like the science in a lot of books, like Atomic Habits and things like that, where they talk about you get the motivation rolling and it's easier for you to do something. It's almost like when I said earlier, when I do the quick ticks and I get the hard thing done first, like it feels so good, and I feel like everything else is kind of like going downhill, like it's easier. He was giving a good story about Wayne Dyer, and saying that Wayne Dyer would sometimes get ideas like in the middle of the night, and he'd wake up, and he was, he's an author, so he would write tons of books, and he would just get up and start like typing the stuff down in his notes or whatever he used. The way I was going to say his typewriter, but like he literally, he didn't die that long ago. I'm like imagining him in like some sort of barn, like typing with like a typewriter. He was like a rich guy that lived on Maui. Like he did not have a typewriter. He probably had someone typing for him at that point. But what I'm getting at is he would get up and just go with that ping of motivation. Like he was telling this guy, he's like, I didn't want to get up. Like I didn't want to like get up and do these things. But like, if I didn't, like in the future, it's either, you know how some people say they get like a download or like something in their mind like clicks, or it's just like, you can use whatever vernacular you want to use, or whatever kind of like aligns with you better, like divinity, if you want to go with that, or just like literally like your brain just gives you a fire or something. That's when I was in bed last night, and I was like talking to myself, and that's when I came up with this episode. And I actually, because I didn't want to get up, I was literally going to bed, and like I was yapping about, I need that sleep. I took out my phone and I just started recording the notes so that I would have it. And then when I came to do the episode today, I like listened to the notes real quick before I started talking, because I wanted to get the exact way the thoughts were flowing in my head last night. And I just turned on my camera and I just like faced it down and spoke into it to get the notes so I can get this episode. So that was like kind of my like compromise, because I was like, there ain't no way. I'm not Wayne Dyer. I'm not getting up right now and getting my typewriter out and writing this episode, because it's like, I'm going to bed. I had the sheets on. I was like rubbing my feet together like a cricket in bed. I was like, I am not getting up, but I can still do something. I can still write things down. So either having the phone or a notebook available. But I feel like the present moment, there's so much beauty in it, because you can get hit with these ideas and taking advantage of the time that you have. And I don't want to be like all Eckhart Tolle and be like, you literally only have now when you think about it. Like there is no future, there is no past, and all of that. Like that's a whole nother topic I can go into. But the idea of just getting motivation and like the present moment can bring you so many beautiful things. That was one thing I wanted to talk about with the present moment. I don't know if this next point flows. It's about the present moment, but I don't know if it flows into it. So just bear with me. Another thing I've been feeling is in my life, it might be because I'm a daydreamer. It might be that Pisces moon acting over time, but it's easy for me to fall into the trap of not being happy where I am and wanting to be somewhere else. So that lack feeling. And again, that can be physical location, a job, a feeling of something. It comes down to self-worth sometimes too. Like if you don't feel like you're advanced enough in a certain area, or you want to be at point X already and you're not there. So that's something I've always like, teetered with in my life. And I feel like it's a very human emotion to have, is just feeling like you want to be somewhere else. And like I was saying, it's cool to have that feeling if you have the awareness when you have that feeling to be like, all right, I am getting like an emotion right now that's telling me I don't totally enjoy this thing. And I'm just going to make note of it, because now I can work on reaching for something else, like without getting like all like sad about it. But sometimes you can't fight that in the moment. Sometimes the best thing to do is just kind of like wallow and feel it, but then be aware that like you can take note of it. So when you're doing your meditations or your journaling, like take note of the fact that, hey, this thing upsets me a lot. Let's maybe dive into it a little more or see what I can do to not be upset by that in the future. I just feel like this season right now that I'm in has been really, truly, because I never felt this before, really, truly like fine with where I physically am and what I'm physically doing right now, because I'm actually feeling so optimistic about everything that's happening in life and everything that's like lining up. And I know for a way, like I hate, sometimes my environment really affects where I am. And I feel like there's things going on in my life where I've been upset at like the spot that I'm in a way. And I've actually been able to really just like hone in on like my day to day and be kind of excited about like the work I'm doing and the way it's like building into something. And the other work I'm doing work for other people in a sense, but like the money I'm getting from that is allowing me to like put it away and use it for stuff that's going to like make me so excited and happy in the future. Not to like, again, think like way ahead, but I'm like appreciating everything I'm doing in a way. Like I'm able to look at it and just kind of be content with it. And I don't think I've felt that in a long time, because I was like constantly teetering with like I was going too much into, whenever I'd feel the lack, it would almost like overtake me. And I'd be like, oh my gosh, I know I'm here, but like I really want to be there. And like, I don't know if I want to make like a crazy drastic change and just like do that, like, cause whatever, or I feel like I'm not like enough. And I had to work on some like underlying themes and maybe like self-worth, and just like it honestly just came down to just like I said, I'm like nourishing myself really well. I feel like the sleep, I feel like the food, I feel like looking at my day and making sure I'm doing work but not like so stressed, and then staying really present with my mindset has led me, again, this is why I talk about all the holistic thing and how everything's connected, has led me to like feeling really happy right now. And I do have some like cool, exciting life things coming up soon. But like right now I'm in this spot where I'm just like going through these days of like, I'm kind of doing like, I'm working on these projects and I'm working on stuff for other people. And it's just like, it's easy. It was easy for me a few months ago to maybe almost like fall into that trap of like feeling bad and not enjoying where I am. But like I've been enjoying it, because I think, like I said, I've been taking care of myself. I've been finding different ways to fulfill me. I've been finding ways to like indulge into things I'm passionate about, like for no reason. So like art and just like playing around. And like I literally got this like video game I've been playing. Not like gamer stuff. It's a Disney video game. And I just like play it every now and then. It's kind of like Animal Crossing. And I'll just like, it's called Disney Dreamlight Valley if anyone has it. It's really fun. It's on Switch. And like, I don't play it daily, but like if I'm bored for like 10-15 minutes, I'll like play on it. And it just reminds me of like stuff I used to do as a kid. And it's like so nice. So I think like I've been finding things like that to kind of like, reading fantasy books and just like finding that nice balance of like just enjoying my day to day. And I've been like putting more into my cooking and my recipes, and I've just like been enjoying that and like the rewarding work of it. But that leads me into the next thing. So this season I've also been noticing that like some lessons from the past that I thought like either I learned or didn't learn, they've really like hit now, like they've integrated now. So I feel like sometimes you can like learn a lesson and be like, okay, that's a lesson, but then a few months later like it really hits you. So I've like felt things click recently from like situations from a few months ago, whether it be like I finally feel like totally free from something, or I really understand like how my behavior was or how other people's behavior was, and like it unveiled something to me in a way, if that makes sense. It also showed me, because I was talking about cooking, like it showed me like after having time away from something or a phase of my life, like what I've missed or what I don't miss, or what I crave or what I don't crave. So like something about like cooking and like the whole homegrown, like picking your own food and things like that. Like I found myself like wanting to do that more. And I realized like I miss like getting my hands dirty and kind of like being in like in a kitchen environment, but like creating like I said, I've been like really liking creating foods where it's almost like a cool like edible medicine. Like the stuff in it is really good for you, but it tastes really good. And I think it's just like pipelined into, I've been thinking about this for a few months, if you want to know. Fun fact, I want to start like, I've always wanted like a homestead type vibe where wherever I live, I want to have like chickens and like I want to grow my own food, and it doesn't have to be like big scale. It can literally just be like a few herbs that I grow and like tomatoes, but things like that I can like incorporate into my meals, and like I love it. And like I want to raise my kids in a place where it's like nature. Like I do not want to live in a city. But yeah, so stuff like that. And I've been in like my herb era, like herbal tinctures and all of that for the past few months. And I'm taking like a herbalism course and I'm loving it. It's so fun. And yeah, I think recently discovering these new things, it's kind of pinged my heart from some other stuff from like my work trades that I was doing in the past, where I'm like, wow, I actually didn't appreciate that stuff back then as much as I'm like feeling the lack of it right now, but like in a beautiful way, in a way that's like showing me like, wow, I actually want to like grow more things, and like there's a beauty between like the farm to table experience and like all this stuff, you know? So that's an example where I feel like a few months ago, yes, I enjoyed it when I was doing it, and I thought, I'm like, wow, this is beautiful, and like I had an appreciation for it, but for some reason now I have like a deeper appreciation of it. So, and it could be the same thing with the opposite of the spectrum, noticing you don't miss something or you don't crave something. But I just noticed that some lessons are really integrating right now, and I'm like enjoying that process of like letting all these things come to me. But again, I also attribute it to like my brain just feeling like clearer, and like things can like flow in more, and I'm also more aware of like my feelings in my head and my heart because I'm like getting sleep and I'm like giving myself time to play, and then also giving myself time again, like I'm finding that discipline, and I'm like feeling good about myself because like I'm getting things done, like I'm getting things checked off my list. Like it's been like a beautiful balance, and like I feel like I was kind of sad at one point a few months ago, and it's like it's great, like all the things I'm learning from that, it's so beautiful, you know? But yeah, that can be a cool reflection prompt, maybe going back and asking yourself what things like lit you up that you did in the past year, or it could be years ago. Again, this is almost a similar question to like thinking about what lit you up as a kid, but maybe even exploring the past 2 or 3 years, like what lit you up. And I'm actually reading a book. It's kind of about productivity versus like self-care. And one of the questions, I forget how this woman phrases it in her book, but she's talking about how if you have a job and like you don't have to be like the crazy, like you go online and it's like a girl like on the beach with her laptop and she's like, I work from anywhere and everywhere at all times, and like promotes that like life doesn't have to be that way. Like you don't have to be an entrepreneur. You don't have to be doing the thing like that. Maybe you have a different version of what like happiness in your career looks like for you, and there's like so many different ways you can go down that pipeline. And looking at your career, like what you do in your day-to-day at your job, like what lights you up in those days, like maybe talking to people, maybe like sometimes in meetings you light up because you like to share your ideas, or you like that's where you feel like that fire. And she was going through specific questions. I don't have the book on me right now. I wish I did because I can like give you them, but she was like giving yourself questions to ask about like your work day. Like, is there a certain activity that lights you up? Is there something that like you hate? Like even reflecting on that is cool because it shows you like, oh, maybe that's the part that's not the best, but I actually enjoy this part a little bit more about my job. So maybe asking questions, it could be about your job, it could be about stuff that you've done in the past year, but I just feel like a lot of things, like me reflecting on the past year and doing a lot of reflection work has shown me like I'm enjoying things more right now than I thought I am, you know? So I don't know if that's any help. I have one more point I want to make in this episode. It doesn't align up too much with this, but I guess lack. It does align up with the lack idea a bit. So earlier in the episode, I kind of spoke about something that is similar to this, where we look at ourselves we're at point A, but we want to be at point Z. And it's almost this capitalistic model of self-development that we've been taught. And even if this doesn't resonate with you right now, hang on to this idea, because I think it took me a few times, because I would hear this. And I sometimes think like cliches in life, like I think cliches are actually so profound. Like I grew up thinking a lot of quotes and things like that were either profound and then I thought they were cringy, or maybe I thought they were cringy and now I find them profound. But I feel like there's you're never going to like discover a book with like all the secrets of humanity and how to live. And I feel like a lot of timeless tales and lessons and like allegories and all those things that you would hear like repeated all the time, like those short stories where it's like the same lessons. As you get older, I feel like they really do kind of click sometimes, and that there's no new knowledge in a way. Like, humans have been going through the human journey for like centuries and millennia, and sometimes I think, especially like Eastern traditions, but a lot of traditions as well, like you'll find connecting themes from people who lived in like a culture in the continent of Asia or like South America, you know, like you'll find similar themes of humanity, which I think is like so cool. And I don't think there's any new information. I think the things that people were saying, like the short and sweet statements sometimes are the most profound. So this is going to sound like one of those statements, but it actually like means something. So bear with me through the explanation, because I'm going to add some stuff to this. Don't start rolling your eyes when I say it, because it's actually really cool. So again, this is a way to look at self-development, a way to switch your mindset. So everybody always thinks like we're at point A and we have to get a point Z, you know, to get to point Z. And then you can hear like all those like crazy self-development quotes where it's like, you have to grind, you have to get grit, you have to get dirty, and like you got to take the steps, you got to have pain. And it's like you think you have to go through all these like trials and tribulations to like get to that point you want to be at, and maybe along the way in those trials and tribulations you have to buy stuff, because that's how they kind of paint it. Maybe you need this, you need that. They paint that your perfect house is this far away and this is what you need for it, or your perfect career is here, or the life you want and happiness, it's over there. And to get it, you have to climb these steps and learn these things. And not saying learning is get bad, okay? But like, yeah, maybe people will kind of use this type of model to sell you courses or sell you things like that. They pitch it as it far, far away. And to get to it, you have to go through these chapters and journeys and all of that. And they always, even like the word like self-development journey, it's like a winding path in your head, you know, like you're not there. It's over there. It's never going to be attainable. And you're always going to need to buy things or do things or be things. And that even leads to like, I don't know, like that guilt when you don't get something done. It makes you feel bad, you know, or you just feel like you're dragging along, and people are so much more ahead of me and all of that. Like that's all from that concept of like the human experience, self-development thing that they sell to you. You know, it's always perceived that way in movies and passed down, and even our self-talk kind of aligns up with it sometimes, but it's not true. And this is where the cliche comes in, because I'm going to break it down. But honestly, things really started to shift for me, and I've been leaning into this so heavily lately, and I like love it. The idea that things aren't far away. You don't have to go and your journey's over there and your endpoint's over there, or the person you want to be, like your higher self, isn't somebody else. You know, it's not another person. It's not far away. Ooh, here it comes. Like it's all inside of you already. And when you start to look at it like that, that's when things actually start to click. And maybe it's not clicking right now. I'm going to break some things down, but then keep this idea with you as you go through your week or day, and just like notice if maybe you'll find yourself pulling back to that idea of like, oh, I got to get there. And then you could be like, wait, no, like all of this is actually already inside of me in some capacity. So I like to think of it in a few like analogies you can use. For example, not me mentioning video games twice in this podcast episode. Oof, weird. So in video games, sometimes they'll have levels, and it's like the level can be like a room or like a pathway, and you can't get through it because like the door's locked and you need to like complete some challenges before you can open that door. But you can literally see the room, you know, you can see the room, you can see like the stuff that's next, you can see the pathway. You look on the map, if there's like a map in your game, and you could see that like that, whatever, that room, that zone, that territory, it exists. It's there. It's like there. It's painted. The woman, I don't know why I said the woman, the person that made the game put that on the map. Like it's there. The room exists. You know, it's not like you have to build the room or you have to get all the way to that room. It's like, it's literally behind that door. All you got to do is work on some stuff to kind of unlock it, you know, like unlock the door, whatever that may be. Challenges, finding items, whatever the video game is. And that's kind of like what self-development is. It's like you already actually have this thing. It's just like you have to unlock it in a way, or it's like layers. Like it's all within you, like the capabilities to do these things, you know, like you're like, oh, I'm not capable of making like X amount of money, or I don't have the confidence to do that, or I don't have whatever assets that you think you need for something. And it's like, it actually is within you. Like truly, as lame and as like repetitive as it sounds, there's a reason that it sounds lame and repetitive, is because a lot of people who have lived in this world have probably come to that conclusion over time, you know? And the next like idea that I came up with, I was thinking, this is actually what inspired this entire podcast episode, because I was thinking about it in bed last night. My analogy that I just made up, it's about the rainbow eucalyptus tree. If you have ever seen one or have not seen one, I'm putting an image in the description of this episode because I want people to look at it if you haven't seen it. So the rainbow eucalyptus tree, yes, it's a tree just like a eucalyptus tree, but it's different in a sense. One, they actually grow really tall. Two, they're like, it might be tropical, temperate climates. So I don't remember the island exactly. It might be like Oceania. I know they have them in Australia and New Zealand, but it definitely came from an island like in that area. And it was brought over to Hawaii. It was brought over to different parts of the western US. So they're prominent in Hawaii, but technically they are invasive because like they're not from there, but they're beautiful and they grow in that type of climate. And they'll also grow in like Washington and like New York. Not New York. California. But I meant to say like Pacific Northwest, and I don't know why the N in my head made me say New York, but yeah, so that side of the US and then in Hawaii. Enough rambling about that. They're such a cool tree. They do make eucalyptus leaves like the regular tree, but they're not as scented, so the oil isn't as strong. So it's like a lightly scented eucalyptus, and like I said, they're super tall, like humongous. They have a bark that's like brown, purple, pastel, if that makes sense. So it's a very like pastel. It looks almost like dusty in a way. So this tree, like I said, the bark is that like brown, purple color, but if you peel away some of the bark, whether it gets scratched by nature or you like scratch it with some sort of tool, the next layer of the bark is literally neon green, like bright lime neon green. And that's the color of the bark. And it's not like that color came from somewhere else. Like it didn't have to grab it from somewhere else in nature. Like that's the color underneath the bark. And it's like always there. There's more to the story, because don't think I'm really, I don't know. For some reason that sounded like lame. But like I said, there's like a lime green bark underneath. Now, just like when you wear foundation and you're wearing it for too long and it starts to turn a little orange, it's like oxidation, which means the oxygen and the molecules in the makeup, they have like a reaction where they start to darken. So the color and the shade starts to get like a little darker or like a little bit more like orangey. Like it changes the scale of it, you know? So it's a different color at the end of the day. And then you look at yourself in the mirror and you're like, bro, and it's like this sharp line on your jaw of a different color. And you're like, was it like this the whole time? That's kind of like the rainbow eucalyptus tree. As oxygen touches the green bark, the neon green bark, over time, it'll change colors. So let's say you scratch the tree in like October, by like, and again, I don't actually know the true timeline of this. I'm just using this for demonstration's sake. There definitely is an exact time about why they change this way. But anyway, I digress. October, you scratch it, you go back to that tree in like February and it won't be neon green. It would change colors and it'll be blue, like a bright blue. And then if you scratch it right then and there in February, it's going to be neon green. So now this tree has this beautiful like blue line in it, but now it also has this neon green line. And then you come back like 3 months later and the blue line is bright pink and then the green line is blue. So over time, and oxidation, like when the oxygen touches the tree bark, it actually changes the color so that different scratches from different points in time, when the bark naturally falls off or when the bark gets scratched, you're going to have all these striations of different colors on the tree, and you have rainbow all across the tree, and it's so beautiful. It's like one of my favorite trees to look at, like jaw-dropping, like stunning. And it was there the whole time. Like it's almost like an example of the reason that it changed colors and it looks the way it does now. Like it always had that neon green bark underneath, and it was just oxygen and time. So whether that be what you're putting into yourself, whether that be the time, the dedication, you're actually making the decision, changing the choice, doing the thing, basically like changing yourself in life, whatever your action is going to be, it's going to change how the bark looks, you know? I'm really getting like, I sound like I'm writing a haiku, but you hear what I'm saying in a sense? Like they didn't have to go out and paint that tree. The tree didn't have to go out and get pigment from somewhere else. It literally always had that color. It just needed to unlock it. It just needed to be kind of peeled away, like layers. Now I sound like the Shrek analogy with the onion, but you know what I mean? Like it peeling away the layers and the colors exposed. And then if you want to like bring it up a notch, not only is the really beautiful color there, but you can also change the color of the tree with time. So the more that you're like, if you want to talk about like a characteristic, the more that you're displaying this confidence or like showing your boundaries and like practicing these things, like you're going to grow and you're going to become stronger in that. Just like how that tree will change colors and kind of like earn its stripes in a way. So that's my analogy of the rainbow eucalyptus tree, and how self-development isn't somewhere else you have to be or something else you have to be. Like, it's already within you. Like, it really is. You have it in yourself to do these things. And then when you finally start to practice it, it's like you just become like beautiful, you know, inside and out. Like, your soul is shaped, your mind is shaped. Like, you just turn into this, like, the better version of yourself. And again, it was always there. It's just the actions change. So that was my little lesson on looking at things as if they're not unattainable, but as if they're truly inside of you, as if there's something to be unlocked, or maybe you want to say polished, so that you can reveal that it's always been there. So reframing from thinking that you need to unlock or build or, you know, plug whatever verb you want in so that you think it's an external thing, but knowing that it already exists and you can tap into it, thinking of it as like a well, like with ink, and you can literally dip into it whenever you want. That has been something I have been thinking of during this period of like change. And I feel like recently, like leaning in on that has actually made me like take action with things, like remembering that like I have the confidence within me, or I have like, I can set these boundaries like when I want, you know, and I can pull it out from inside of me. It's almost like sometimes I'll just pretend to act. I'm like, yeah, I can do this. And I just like pull out the thing from inside of me. And I've been thinking about that mindset of like, wherever I am, if I'm like in the gym or something is like brushing me the wrong way, or I feel nervous or something, I'm like, I can reset. Like, I can change right now. And it's just cool. Like, I've been leaning into it, like pulling it out of me, or just like becoming that from within. And it's helped me reframe things. Like, even when I was struggling a little bit with like getting my to-do list done, or like discipline in a sense, I'm like, no, what would somebody, and I would ask myself the question I was talking about in the last episode, where I think about like my future self and I ask, what would she be doing? And I'm not thinking of her as far away. I'm thinking of it as, what would she be doing? And how can I like tap into those things right now? How can I pull those out of me like right now? And that's what I've been doing, is I'm like, okay, well, she would put down her 3 things to do today, and then she would get them done. Like, she would make sure she does them. And she's going to make sure she puts time into this type of project sometime this week, because that's something that will help her build what that vision of her is, you know? And so like, I'm slowly pulling her from inside of me, and I'm like bringing her to the front, you know? Like, I'm taking that color and I'm like showing it. I'm doing stuff that will like tie into her, and she's already here. She's not far away. I'm just kind of like getting closer to unlocking that door. Like, I'm going in a way. I just really hope that resonates. This was what I was thinking about before bed last night, and that's what I wanted this episode to talk about. So I just wanted to share a bit about like the present moment, mindfulness, coming into the reframing of self-development. And that's really it for this week. I have more episodes coming. Again, I love when you DM me, so please let me know anything at any point. My Instagram is Happy Holistic Hippie. I've been chatting with some wonderful women who have given me some ideas that I will be turning into episodes soon. But this one just felt like very natural. And again, like I said, I thought of it last night and I was like, let's act on it. Let's just get this done right now and put this out there. And I hope if you needed to hear this, that it resonated with you, that maybe you can carry along one of these nuggets with you during your week. Let me know if you do. And I just hope you have a wonderful day. So take care and enjoy.